celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
Well, Happy New Year to you. Hopefully you're having a good Happy New Year's weekend and still recovering from the festivities over the weekend. My resolution this year is I'm going to actually only purchase things from companies that are friendly to animals. Wow. I know that. I'm going to at least try to do that as best as I can.
I love that.
Do you like that?
And companies that don't test their products on animals and things like that.
Well, don't add to my resolution here, okay? It's my resolution.
Okay.
Anyway.
And you're going to go vegan too, right?
No, I'm not going to do that. Lori will remain vegan. How long have you been a vegan?
A couple of years, actually. I've toyed with it for about 18 years.
Yes.
And just the last couple of years, every day I get up, I become more and more committed to animal wellness and freedom and everything else that's good for them. I really do.
Now, physically, how do you feel? Honestly. Totally honestly. Please.
Honestly?
Yes.
Better.
You do feel better?
Yeah, I really do. Because, you know, I think about back at those times when I did or I cheat and and now it's just like I look at it and I think, I will watch TV, and instead of seeing a cooking show, I'm like, oh my, because they go, we're lamb here and some bacon, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a sheep, that's a pig. It doesn't even, and it just seems horrible to me now, and it didn't before.
Okay.
Hold on, I got a question. How is your husband vegan?
Sure. No.
No. Okay.
No.
And how difficult is that? Because before I met my wife, I met this very attractive girl, and I didn't know she was vegan. So, of course, I'm hitting on her and all. I said, yeah, well, we got to go out to dinner. And she says to me, well, I don't think I'm going to be too fun going out to dinner because I'm vegan. And that kind of ended everything right there, because I thought about it saying, yeah, this might be a problem. But how did that all work out?
Everybody's different, and that's when I became a nurse. That was one thing that I really learned. Everybody is different, and in so many ways.
Sure.
It is possible. I've always loved animals my whole life, so I just, I loved animals before. It doesn't mean I loved them any less when I was eating meat. I just consider myself to be maybe more aware now and in a different phase of my life.
You're always enlightening. I'm always learning something from you. I don't think I could go that direction, but I've learned a lot from you and continue to learn so much from you.
Well, thanks.
Wait a minute. No one answered my question. Hold on. I want my question answered. Was it difficult for you, being with someone who wasn't vegan?
No.
Okay.
No. Mm-mm.
You got to be tolerant of your spouse's.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be tolerant of everybody. You're not going to win people over to anything by being a butthead, to put it nicely.
Let's go to the phones for your calls. For Dr. Debbie, who's just walking into the studio, and dog father Joey Villani, toll free at 1-866-405-8405. Coming up in the news at the bottom of the hour, Miss Lori Brooks, what are you working on?
Well, I consider us all to be pretty enlightened. That we love animals and stuff, and I came across this dog disease that's been in the news lately. I had never even heard of it. It was actually discovered in America back in the 80s, and it's now overseas, and cases are really growing. I'm sure Dr. Debbie's probably the only one of us who's really heard of it, but we'll find out more, and I'll tell you what to be on the lookout for.
Let's go to the phones for your calls right now. Hey, Peter.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Very fine.
Where are you calling from today?
Reading, PA.
Reading, Pennsylvania. I love you guys over there. You love your animals. I have the whole team here. How can we help you?
I wanted to know, how do I know that my female cat is pregnant? Because in my neighborhood we have a lot of street cats and they roam around. So.
All right, Peter. So I take it your female cat is out gallivanting out in the neighborhood. I just got to make sure that this is possible that she's getting outside where those other cats are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, chances are she'll probably be pregnant before long. So if she's not, certainly, I'd encourage you to get her spayed. because cats, they pretty much will continuously go into heat. So if your cat's not in heat and she stops having signs of heat, she's probably pregnant. So let's just kind of go over some basic things. So cats are generally pregnant for about 63 days, so about 2 months in essence. So that first month, pregnancy at home can be a little bit difficult to determine. You might notice, kind of similar to women, that she might eat less, kind of like that whole nausea thing going on. Some kitties will get a little bit more affectionate, and sometimes you might notice that her nipples would get a little bit more prominent, a little pinker than normal. But it can be really challenging. So at this point, if you're not noticing anything really significant, it might be wise to take her to the veterinarian, because we as veterinarians can pick up pregnancy within that first month by different means. Sometimes simply as examining and feeling the belly. As far as ultrasound, at 3 weeks, we can generally pick up whether a kitty or a dog is pregnant.
Now, it's kind of hard to get them to pee on a stick, too. So that's not one of the ways you do it, right?
Well, I mean, there is a pregnancy test, but I'd have to say that generally it's generally pretty simple to determine pregnancy for different methods. Just depends on what phase. So if they're a little bit further along, there's the x-rays that we will do at 45 days. And that helps not just to determine pregnancy, but it actually tells you how many babies they have, which is even more important because nobody wants to be sitting at home at 1 a.m. on a weekend and not know if your kitty is pushing, is there another baby in there or not? Because you want to be armed with that information. So first thing is to get a detection of pregnancy and then to figure out how many babies you've got. But, most people, I think, don't notice pregnancy until you get into that second month. And that's when you might notice that the whole mammary area gets more swollen and they'll actually produce milk later on in that second month. And that's when they eat a lot, going to go in the other direction. They're going to become more and more affectionate and even start doing nesting behaviors where they start to, take bedding material, kind of making a little place where that they can have the kittens. So,
how many kittens do they have? Like when they're ready to give birth, how many? Yeah,
it's generally between about, I'd say, 4 to 6 kittens. And, the funny thing with cats is that they are very sneaky when it comes to delivery. And I do get a lot of calls of people really panicking. So if your cat is pregnant and starting to go into labor, you need to be aware that that's going to take sometimes 6 hours. They'll take a break in between. Each kitten comes about every 30 to 60 minutes, but that whole process can be really quite drawn out. And if you disturb them and say, hey, the household's too noisy, or a bunch of people come over and, hey, watch my cat, it's having kittens, they'll stop. They get stressed. They'll stop their their delivery and restart it the next day. So once things happen, you really don't want to bother with them. You want to let them take things naturally.
Does that answer some questions there for you, Peter?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Dr. Deb.
All right. Sure thing. Bye. And, hey, take that kitty over to your vet, because if she's not pregnant yet, you can get her spayed.
Well, don't you know this portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by World's Best Cat Litter? If you're tired of wasting money on those giant boxes of litter that don't last, may I suggest World's Best Cat Litter? The only litter with concentrated power so you use less and get more. You can learn more over at tryworldsbest.com. And thanks, guys, for underwriting Animal Radio. Hi, Kathy.
Yes, hello.
How are you? Where are you calling from today?
Alpena, Michigan. That's, maybe 200 miles from Detroit.
Is that on the top part of the glove?
Exactly.
That's what I think Michigan is a glove, but I guess.
You're right.
What's going on with your animal? I have Dr. Debbie right here.
Yes, well, she's 13 years old, and she was high blood count, fever, infection, loss of weight, diarrhea. And they took, but after that, she was fine. They put her on amoxicillin and everything. She was fine for 2 months. Then, and I'm trying to go real fast. Then in April, everything's been up and down, up and down. But the main thing, her blood count elevated, this and that. But the main thing now, she's in no pain. She lost weight. She's happy, everything, but she still has the diarrhea. And now they're thinking she might be having irritable bowel disease, and they are trying to rule out all these different things, and now they're going to put her on steroids. We picked up steroids today and see within a week if she's going to improve. But the main thing is she's losing weight and the diarrhea.
Okay, and I missed, what kind of dog is she?
German Shepherd, 13 years old. And she's been healthy all her life.
Okay. All righty. Well, I mean, and definitely that strategy, it can be a very sound one in a 13-year-old dog. And the causes of weight loss accompanied with vomiting and or diarrhea, we definitely go gearing towards the gut. And if we don't feel anything that's feeling like a lump or a bump or a mass internally, then sometimes we have to look at the things that are harder to prove just from outward means or even from tests such as blood work and x-rays.
Right.
So ultimately, to get an answer to some of these situations, we're looking at getting biopsies of the intestinal tract. And that, isn't really necessarily realistic in a 13-year-old dog. So, there might be some steps that we can do to try to figure out a little bit more about what's going on in the digestive tract. So for me, often with a dog that's losing weight, I may do things like do some vitamin B levels, cobalamin and folate can be helpful, because even if we're not going to go for something like a biopsy, sometimes those elements need to be supplemented, and they can really benefit from vitamin B therapy, along with antibiotics and probiotics to try to help keep things going. And there are definitely some doggies where when we're suspicious that they might have an inflammatory problem like inflammatory bowel disease, that steroids are certainly on the table. And sometimes we just kind of give it a whirl, see how they do. And if we see improvement, then, that's a very realistic approach for a doggie in her age bracket, with some caveats, because anytime we use steroids, there's good and bad. So there are some conditions that can be worsened with that. And in an older pet, I do also worry about things like, the big C. Cancer certainly is a possibility, and it can be tough to rule that out completely by these, these tests that we do from the outside. Certainly, I think you have nothing to lose by trying that approach, and especially if she's continuing to lose weight, even though you had her on the antibiotics and she still lost weight despite that, right?
Right. She does gain a couple pounds in here and there, and I forgot to tell you that in the blood work, right now, they found that she is losing protein in her body, and her glands are producing too much cortisol.
Okay.
That's just now her lab work from this week.
Okay. Yeah, and the protein loss, you definitely, if we're having chronic diarrhea, we look for where we could lose it in the body, and you can lose protein in the GI tract. You can also lose it in the kidneys, and sometimes we don't have enough protein because we're anemic, or we're just having problems with our overall metabolism. So if the diarrhea is the cause of that, I can understand why she might have a low protein level. And Cushing's disease isn't necessarily something that I first think of if we have a digestive problem and weight loss. So the problem is with Cushing's disease, it's a disease that causes high levels of cortisone in the body, but stress causes high levels of cortisone. So disease processes can cause us to have high cortisone levels. So it can be a little hard to really interpret that in the face of a sick pet. So, but
other than that, she's playful, she's happy, she's got appetite, except for now the diarrhea.
If you haven't already used things like probiotics, and some dogs, we will even entertain putting them on low-level antibiotics if we're suspicious that they have intestinal overgrowth in their intestinal tract. And that can happen very commonly, secondary to some intestinal diseases, or sometimes all by itself. So it's not a case where we like to use antibiotics, indiscriminately, but for some of these pets, it really can help treat them and the quality of their life.
Right.
So good luck.
I like where you're going in with the vet. She also said the biopsy, we'll see if steroids were very good. I appreciate so much. My sister in LA listens to your program all the time. We just watch it, listen to it all the time.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and we appreciate it. Good luck. Hope everything turns out well there. 1-866-405-8405 to reach out to the Dream Team and ask your questions. And again, don't forget, you can ask your questions for the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. It's a free download, and Doctors Foster and Smith made it that way. Free for you to download. Listen to the show, get the recalls, and ask your questions of Dr. Debbie and Joey Villani straight from the app.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. Canine Caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
Ah, the beginning of a new year. Started off right during Rite Aid's 2016 Starting Points, because every week through January 23rd, you can ring in the values. With 1,000 Plenty Points worth $10 in savings when you spend $30 on participating products with your Wellness Plus with Plenty card. That adds up to big savings every week for the entire month. But only at Rite Aid. With us, it's personal. Worth at least $10. Limit 2 offers per card per week. Plenty is a rewards program. Terms and conditions apply. See plenty.com/terms for details.
I am the family dog, and it's that time of year again. The one where pet parents start looking for Fido-friendly hotels and destinations where Fido is welcome. Make no bones about it. Pets are part of the family, and we like to sniff out new places too. And we hate to be turned away, especially when we're on our best behavior. So we won't be left out in the cold. Be sure to pick up a copy of Fido-friendly magazine to find the best hotels and destinations where Fido is always welcome. Go online to FidoFriendly.com and subscribe today.
Stella and Chewy's believes that selecting the best food is one of the most important decisions an owner can make for their pet. We believe that pets thrive when they're fed the same diet they'd get in the wild. Dogs and cats are carnivores, and meal mixers are a quick and convenient way to mix a little raw nutrition and great taste into their diet. Made from premium raw ingredients like grass-fed meat and cage-free poultry with organic fruits and vegetables. Meal mixers help kickstart your kibble. Learn more at StellaandChewy's.com.
Hi, Randy Travis here, and you're listening to Animal Radio.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
It's Animal Radio. We're celebrating the connection with your pet toll-free. 1-866-405-8405. On the other end of that phone is Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani answering your vet medical questions and your grooming questions. And in just a couple of minutes, we're going to talk to a lady who runs a pet blood bank. And I had requested that we get somebody on like this because we had our studio cat who went through a transfusion about 3 weeks ago. Weirdest thing. I never thought that was something that he did.
And where does the blood come from?
Yeah, I was like, you mean there's cats that donate blood?
Can you use human blood?
Yeah, that's my big question. Maybe they do. I don't know. We'll find out more coming up in just a few minutes with Nicole Humphrey. She's the manager over at the Pet Blood Bank.
I always thought they had like donor cats in the vet offices.
Some do.
They do. But I wonder if they got like A positive, you know, like we do.
Yeah.
B, AB, O.
Yeah, and what about dogs? Is it breed specific or is it across the line?
Now that I think about it, just before the transfusion, the doctor had to call around to see if there was a certain blood type available for the transfusion. So I guess there is blood types. But we'll find out more with the expert in just a few minutes right here. But we'll answer your questions toll free at 1-866-405-8405 before we go to news. And what's going on in the newsroom there, Lori?
Well, we know dogs are wonderful and generous and kind and everything. And now we've got some scientific research that backs it up that dogs are really very, very unselfish with another kind of animal. Huh. So we'll tell you what that is.
Unselfish.
My dog's selfish.
Is your dog selfish?
Sometimes.
Does she express those? Or do you think there are emotions you put on her?
No, I think if she, has a toy and it's laying there and another dog goes to get it and all of a sudden she wants it.
Oh, is that jealousy or selfish?
Very selfish.
That's selfish because she didn't want it until someone else did. That's just selfish.
Yeah, I guess she does do that.
Yeah, she does.
I don't know why dogs do that. It's like they're trying to cause trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and she'll take her stuff and she'll put one of her possessions in front of the cat, and sit back and dare them to touch it. Like, I dare you.
Ladybug does that?
Yeah, she'll put her bone in front of the cat and then she'll back up and just stand there like, go ahead, make my day.
Yep.
Of course, the cat doesn't want it.
Bad.
But if the cat goes to sniff it,
yeah,
then she just runs and grabs it.
Okay, so I guess
the same thing happens in my household because I have 4 dogs.
Yeah.
And they all do that to each other. But the best is when one dog is doing that and then you distract the dog. and the other dog takes it, and then that dog looks at you like, help me get it back. You know, like it was my fault.
They're pretty smart, so we'll find out more. Coming up on the news in just a few minutes, right here on Animal Radio. Let's go to the phones right now for your calls. Hi, Mel. Welcome to the show.
Hi there.
What's going on?
We have a chinchilla. It's probably about 10 years old, and she pretty much stopped chewing on things like she normally used to, and it looks like her teeth are getting a little longer. She does still eat, like her regular food and hay, but, she's drooling a lot and seems to be drinking a lot more water.
Oh, okay. She is drooling, so she's getting a little stained on her face with that?
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because of the way she's drinking and drinking how much. It seems like a lot more.
All right. Now, normally people with rodents would say, oh, my God, they chew a lot already, so it's good when they don't chew. But in this situation, especially since you were describing that she's having drooling, gosh, I'd say the number one thing we need to do is a good dental exam on her. The front teeth, the incisors are one thing, but the back teeth, the molars in chinchillas as well as rabbits can really be a huge problem. They are continually growing and they continually wear the opposing teeth down. If they start to get little spikes and overgrow in aspects, that creates cheek pain, or if you even entrap the tongue. So it can be quite serious, and if we're giving up on some of those chewing items, those are some of the first signs that I say that we need to get a good look inside that oral cavity and evaluate those teeth. Many chinchillas do need to have their teeth trimmed, so getting a good look is part of it, and then doing any kind of dental care that we might need to trim the teeth, or heaven forbid, if there's any bad ones that are actually creating abscesses, then surgically extracting those would be the way to proceed there. But I'd say definitely the first thing I would do is get a good look inside that mouth and, make sure your veterinarian's comfortable looking at chinchilla mouths, because they are little interesting little critters, and they got a lot of crooked little teeth in that mouth, and it can be very overwhelming if they're not comfortable with that.
This is an Animal Radio News Update, brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy, with prescription medications and over-the-counter products like Advantix flea and tick medication delivered right to your door. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. Compared to the rest of the animal kingdom, the human capacity for cooperation is something special, because working together with someone requires what is called pro-social behavior. It's helping others without any direct personal gain or benefit. Well, in this case, researchers studied the pro-social behavior of the dogs, and they were using this bar pulling task in which the dogs had to pull these trays and then decide whether a dog on the other end would receive a treat or not. In the test, first the dogs used their mouths to pull a string to take that tray toward a second dog. And then they could choose either an empty tray or a tray that had a treat on it. Well, they found that dogs donate to familiar partners more often than to ones they don't know. In the experiment, the dog pulling the tray, by the way, did not get a treat, so he did not benefit in any way. Dog owners have again been warned to be on high alert after cases of Alabama rot. It's an extremely rare and deadly canine disease. There have only been about 60 known cases of Alabama rot. Now, it is a condition which begins, they say, with ulcers on the dog's skin, and it's usually found on the lower legs before the rapid onset, a couple of days until kidney failure comes in, and it can only be 100% confirmed after death. And there is no vaccination for it, so it's really tragic. The disease was first diagnosed in greyhounds in Alabama, but it's not known whether the strain is the same or a variant of that infection. Back in 1977, the birth of the Star Wars franchise happened. It was also the birth of Ben Burtt's legendary career as a sound engineer. He was the genius who contributed to every Star Wars movie and video game and TV show since the beginning, making all of the sounds and weird noises that you hear in the movies. And believe it or not, he starts with sounds from nature, mostly animals, to bring Star Wars to life. So thanks to the animals. Well, they say the sounds of Chewbacca were created by Bert using mostly bears and a dash of walrus, dog, and lion thrown in. Sounds like a recipe. And the sounds of the tauntauns were created by manipulating the vocal stylings of an Asian sea otter who they were very familiar with. Its name was Moda. I'm Lori Brooks. Get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy. With everyday low prices on products like Quellin and Rimadyl delivered right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Supplies have a Vet VIPPS accredited online pharmacy covering all your pet's needs, from heartworm medications and anti-inflammatories like Rimadyl to non-prescription items like Canine Advantix Flea and Tick Preventive. Doctors Foster and Smith has your pet covered. We'll even contact your vet for you, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Low prices every day with free shipping on orders over $49. Shop online at fosterandsmith.com because your pet's health and happiness come first.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics, canine caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio, celebrating the connection with our pets. Here's the toll-free number, 1-866-405-8405. And in just a few minutes, we're going to go back to the phones for your calls for Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani. If you watch that program on cable TV called Dirty Jobs, where the guy does all those weird dirty jobs, we've actually had him on, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. This next guy, you'll love it. He has a show called Jerry's Jobs. I believe it's an online show at app.com. We welcome Jerry Carino to the airwaves. Hi, Jerry. How are you doing?
Hello there. I'm doing well, and it just fed both of my cats who are going crazy, so now they're doing well. So we're all doing well here.
Cool. Well, one of your wacky jobs was being a Santa Claus for pet photos, where people would bring their pet and they would put them on your lap, and they would take Santa photos. That can't be a very easy job, is it?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think I had it easy that particular day, but talking to a guy, another Santa who does it regularly, there are a lot of things that can go wrong that could happen. We happen to have a pretty calm group of dogs and cats, no snakes or anything exotic, and nobody scratched, clawed, relieved themselves on me, so I got pretty lucky. It was fun, but I could definitely see that being a little bit of a challenge, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
No animals peed or pooped on you?
No, and he said that does happen. I mean, the regular pet photo Santa said that does happen, but maybe it was my calming influence and my experience with animals. More than likely, though, I just got lucky. But yes, I didn't have to dry clean the suit, although I probably still should.
Yeah, you said some of the other Santas weren't so lucky. What kind of problems did they have?
Yeah, I think. Well, the day before, someone brought in 5 rats. And I guess they have rats for pets, and the rats, they're pretty small. Apparently the rats were going everywhere. I mean, in the suit, up the legs, down the back, and so it was real screw. I mean, I probably would have passed out. I mean, so I avoided that, and I guess, the cats, as you know, are a mind of their own, and they can scratch up pretty good. I guess there's a couple Santa suits that have had to hit the trash bin because cats have scratched them to bits.
Sure.
And then, I think he's gotten teed on before. They said it's happened a few times. And then someone brought in a boa constrictor, who I guess that's pretty scary when they're wrapping themselves around your neck, whether you're wearing a Santa suit or not. But luckily I avoided all those fates. But there are definitely occupational hazards for the pet photo Santa.
It sounds like a very interesting job. Now, what other weird jobs have you done? Any other pet-related ones or none?
No, we didn't really have. That's the first. Well, no, I'm sorry, that's not true. The initial one we did was a zoo. Yeah. It was the first one we did, and I was a zookeeper for a day. Now, that was interesting because it was in March, and it was freezing cold, and the zoo was closed. But the zookeeper, you still got to take care of the animals, and so I spent a morning with the zookeeper, and that was fascinating.
You had to have your share of poop to pick up, because I think in any animal job, especially in a zoo, you got to shovel some doo doo.
Yeah, the zookeeper does two things. I mean, three things. He checks to make sure everyone's okay. First of all, they don't need to call a vet, and then he feeds everybody, and they're real happy to see him for that. And then this is first thing in the morning round. And then he scoops up the poop. And there's poop everywhere, all shapes and sizes. But it was so cold, because remember it was a real bad March in the Northeast. It was so cold that you couldn't, you could barely smell anything. He said in the summer months, it is just brutal. I mean, I guess the nostrils adjust. I asked him, do you wear the stuff under your nose? He's like, no, you just get used to it. I don't know. But I didn't have that fate. All I had to deal with was scoop up a bunch of hockey pucks. I mean, I could have picked this up and broken a window with some of this poop. It was so hard.
Jerry, you got really lucky being Santa. You had nothing really very terrible. I mean, at my office, we have Santa every year, and Santa has had a monitor lizard on his lap, a snake on his head, birds on his shoulder, and like a whole cluster of ferrets crawling all over. So yeah, I think you're going to have to try it again.
I rehearsed with my cats. And the one cat would just go nowhere near me. It was just scared to the heavens. And then the other one, he's too fat to get away. So I got him and I grabbed him, I put him in my lap, and I did the old ho, ho, ho right in his face, and he didn't like it. But he didn't scratch and claw, though, so it was a successful trial run.
I don't know how you do it with the cats. I mean, how do you even get them to look at the camera?
Yeah.
And sit still. That's amazing.
The people who brought in cats, and I was worried about that too, because I have two cats, and they have their own mind. They don't listen to you, what you want to say. But these cats were all very calm. Like the people who brought in the cats, they knew the cats would be good, because you get cats are like people. Some of them are calm, and some of them are nuts. So these cats were calm. The dogs were actually a little trickier. They were a little more fidgety, and you had to scratch them under the chin and behind the ears, and people were waving treats, and it took like 9 people to get these animals to look at the camera. But eventually we did, and everyone walked away happy. So I'm going to be in some fun Christmas photos with some animals.
I bet you are, and I'm going to go check out app.com as soon as the show's over today to see some of these.
Yeah, we want to see some more animal-related jobs. So.
Yeah. If we get any more of those, give us a call back, will ya?
Maybe, work with a vet for a day or something, go in and...
Do the anal gland, expressing anal gland.
Yeah, and I think that's where you missed out. Santa's suit should have gotten soiled by some anal glands.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging with us today, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Sure. Stay in touch. I'd be happy to reconnect with you.
Jerry Carino heading off there. 1-866-405-8405 for your calls right now if you want to talk to Dr. Debbie or Groomer Joey Villani. And don't forget, you can also ask your questions from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. It's a free download thanks to those folks over at Drs. Foster's and Smith. I think it's just been updated once again, so now it has all the latest recalls as well as the news that affects your animals. So download it now. It's a suggestion. I don't want to be forceful.
Hey, this is Big Ant from Rescue Inc. Remember, spay and neuter your animal, and abusers are losers. Now back to Animal Radio.
Hey, Veronica, how are you doing?
Hi, thank you. How you guys been?
Good. Where are you?
I'm calling from Encino, California.
Lovely L.A. area, if I might say so myself. What's going on? I hope everything's okay.
Yes, I have a 17-year-old cat, and she has, all of a sudden, she was starting to throw up, but clear liquid, nothing. I ended up putting her inside of the kitchen area so she wouldn't only have access there, and I observed her for a period of 24 hours. She stopped, but I'm still a little concerned if I should take her to the vet or not.
Okay. And the vomiting, you said it only was going on for 24 hours. Does she have bouts of this from time to time, or is this a kind of a single episode?
No, she had several times where she was throwing up.
Okay. Well, for a kitty that's 17 years old, vomiting can be a somewhat vague sign that we can see with a lot of different problems. If you were to tell me this was maybe a 5-year-old kitty, I might say, maybe not a big deal. But in a 17-year-old kitty, it definitely can be a signal that there's something else awry, whether it is a digestive-related problem or if it's completely unrelated to the digestive tract. And for an instance, sometimes cats with kidney disease will start to have vomiting or even loss of appetite. So that would be something we wouldn't know necessarily unless we actually did a thorough exam and maybe even some lab work to determine that. But for me, if you haven't had the kitty in the last maybe 3 months to a veterinarian, I would certainly say I think it's going to be a wise thing to do and just to have her checked out and to make sure everything's okay. Does she have any other ongoing or other health problems that they're managing?
No, you know what? And what I ended up doing, because she wasn't drinking too, so I ended up feeding her. I got a little dropper and giving her a lot of liquid because my concern was for her because she's older, to get dehydrated.
Exactly.
And with a dropper, I was giving her a lot of water, and that kind of helped, but I'm still going to take her to the vet then.
I would, and definitely cats over 10 years, one of the number one things that we see when they come into the veterinary office, we might not see it on physical exam, but if we run lab work, one of the top problems is kidney disease, and they can have a gradual deterioration in that kidney function. So that's something that I would not be surprised if you had a little bit of that going on. So yeah, I definitely get her checked out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your call, Veronica. Have a great day. 1-866-405-8405. That is toll free to the Dream Team.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Hi, this is Justin Tyler Ferguson from Modern Family. I'm on Animal Radio. Adopt a pet.
This is
Animal Radio, baby.
Earlier in the show, I told you my New Year's resolution, only to buy products from companies that are helping animals, and that's why I love Lucy Pet Products.
You know why I love them?
Well, I can imagine, but go ahead and tell me.
Because they're great shampoo. They make your dog smell wonderful. They leave them so clean, and their fur so soft with a little freshen up between baths. I mean, this is a fantastic shampoo. And like you said, it's product with a cause that they help the animals as well.
And, of course, you're talking about a little freshen up with the leave-in conditioning spray. It'll actually help coat and condition your dog's skin or cat's skin or ferret's skin. I've tried them all on all of them.
Or your skin. I've tried it myself.
And best of all, the dogs love it. They really do. I can tell.
They have the Purple Rain, which is a calm and clean lavender shampoo, so it'll help calm your dog while you're bathing him. And who knows, it might help calm you too.
So there's really no place in the country that seems to be inundated with snow right now. But should the snow come along, as it does this time of year, and it gets all muddy and everything, here's a great shampoo to help clean up and get back to the animals. The products with the cause, Lucy Pet Products. Thank you, guys. And remember, a portion of the proceeds go to Lucy Pet Foundation. They're a 501c3 charity that helps local communities and supports causes that benefit animal welfare, like Animal Radio. So thank you so much. Check them at Petco or your independent retailer. Let's head to the phones. We have Jason on the phones. Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Where are you calling from today?
From Lake Forest, California.
Okay. What's going on? How can we help you?
Well, I have a question because I have a pug. She's 7 years old, and it seems like every night when we play with her, she'll it's like she's trying to cough up a hairball.
Okay.
And it never happens during the day. It's mostly at night. So I don't know if there's something I need to get checked out or.
So when she's doing it, is it? I'm going to get kind of vocal here. Is it like a? Or is it more of a...
No, it's the first one.
First one, more like a...
Yeah, like she's got something stuck in her throat.
Okay. So the reason there's a lot of distinctions here is because there's overlap in how a lot of these different things can sound. So gagging, coughing, reverse sneezing, regurgitating, all of them can kind of just as a description sound very similar. So there's a lot to be gained from seeing and hearing it. So this is a great reason why I do love video in the veterinary office. So use your smartphone, get a little video, audio clip, and that can mean a lot.
Yeah.
And you're saying this is only happening at night when she's asleep, or if she's
No, we'll be
things?
playing with her at night. She gets very playful before it's time to go to bed. So she wants to play on the bed and kind of mess around, and then maybe like a minute into it, playing like, fetch or tug of war or something like that, she'll just stop and start the
sound. Okay.
The sound.
And then does she have any other problems as far as keeping up on walks, eating
No, she
food?
goes running with my wife. She's a good eater. She eats a lot.
She goes running as in jogging?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And she tolerates that okay?
Yeah, she tolerates that fine.
Oh, okay. And so I'm assuming if she goes jogging, she's probably not a chubby pug?
She's not an overly chubby pug, no.
Okay. All right, because that is a big battle, and anytime we're dealing with things of respiratory type sounds and abnormalities, that's one of the first questions I go to is your pug fat or not?
Yeah,
and there's a
she's
little
a
bit
fat
of
pug. Yeah, she's not a fat pug.
Okay, and pugs, they're kind of built stocky anyway, so sometimes that's a kind of a loaded question when we say, is your pug fat? Because, nobody wants to admit it. It's kind of their build. So there definitely are a couple things that come to mind with what you're describing, and I do think that video would be helpful, but I do think of problems that can relate to the trachea, as far as whether the size of the trachea may be normal. Also, pugs being a brachycephalic dog, a dog with a squished in face, they inherently can have a lot of different physical changes in their airway structures that can make it more challenging to get air on a good day. Sometimes when they're excited, or if they're exercising, or if there's a lot of emotion going on, we might be more prone to see some difficulties with those things at that time. So for me, I would say, I'd love to see your baby in front of me, take a good look, a good listen. I don't think taking a chest x-ray would be out of line, just to check the size of the airway structures and to see, because also pugs can have some higher propensity for bronchial disease, so for some different kinds of lower airway disease where their airways can actually collapse, usually as a result of their kind of brachycephalic problems, where they're always kind of struggling to get a good solid breath of air.
We've had her for about a year because we rescued her, and it wasn't the whole time. It's basically maybe been for maybe the last 6 months. So I know when we first got her, there was a lot of, how they pant and make that almost a snoring noise for the first 3 days, and we were all freaked out. We thought she was sick, but
you were just getting used to the pug sounds.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The snorkeling and all that. No, and that is part of the puggy nature. But the thing that I will tell you is that noise is basically a symptom that we don't have clear flow. We have turbulent airflow when we're hearing all those. So like a person with sleep apnea, that can put stress on the heart and on the respiratory tract. So if you hear a lot of those respiratory sounds, don't just assume it's just being a pug. I often like to do a thorough exam, and sometimes that means looking in the back of the throat to see what some of those structures look like, and that's usually done under a little bit of sedation or anesthesia. But there are some things that can be corrected, some very simply, before we get a lot of more end-stage airway problems that can set in. So for pugs, Boston Terriers, English Bulldogs, the cute little snorkly sounds are cute, but, we can't overlook that potential that we can help out, improve the quality of life and prevent some of these long-term airway problems they can get.
Okay. So
I would say, yeah.
Do you have an email where I can maybe send you the video of her?
Oh, sure. I'm at Doc Debbie at animalradio.com, right?
Yes.
Cal?
Yes.
Cal's my secretary. I'm trying to check it.
That is DOC, DEBBIE at animalradio.com.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I would definitely enjoy looking at that. I do try to impersonate sounds a little bit better if I have a feel where we're going with things. So I can always share that in another follow-up call if you have other information we could go on.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Take care of yourself there. I love all the noises you make.
It's fun. That's part of the fun and the art of veterinary practice. Is it's not just sitting there and guessing what it is. We have to sometimes impersonate the sounds. Smell things that are gross, and think like the animals.
Hey, let's go back to the phones. Toll free 1-866-405-8405 for Dr. Debbie or Joey Villani, the dog father.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Find us at animalradio.com. Log on, learn more. Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
Okay, here's the number. If you haven't written it down already, it's 1-866-405-8405. And on the other end of that phone, Dr. Debbie and Joey Villani answering your grooming questions and vet questions about your animals, preferably. Although, at times...
I try to keep it, stick to just animals. People start to show me things on their body and tell me things are going wrong with them, and I just have to tell you to go back to your physician for that.
I got to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, we had the Christmas party over at Dr. Debbie's house, and actually, when you walk into the house, she makes you flip your lips. She'll flip your lips, just like she does the gums of the dogs and the cats, just to see if
stop.
I was a little offended by that.
When you put on the rubber glove, that's when I was a little freaked out.
Did you see Hal run when she did that?
It's the food handler glove. I'm telling you, they're not the regular latex gloves.
Lori, what are you working on over there in the newsroom?
Oh, we're talking a lot about health. Companion animal cancer. I mean, it can be, it's really scary, it's really tough, and it's really expensive. And a lot of people, we just have no idea what that might cost and how it's treated. We're going to talk about that, what's in the news, and how some people actually finance cancer treatment for their pet.
Yes, it can be very, very expensive. Wow. And in fact, we've chosen in some of our cats, there was a point where we decided we didn't want to continue with the poking and the prodding and what could have ended up as being chemotherapy. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to put them through it with such kind of a 33% success rate. So we opted not to do that. But I know there's people that love their animals so much, and we love our animals, I'm not saying we don't, that they will just talk the house. They'll take a mortgage out on the house to pay for some of this stuff. And in fact, 3 weeks ago, our studio cat, Boog, the studio cat, had a blood transfusion. And not a cheap process, by the way. But I asked myself, where does this blood come from? If they're going to do a transfusion, they've got to have cat blood, I assume.
I don't know.
And so we're going to talk to a lady in just a few minutes. She is the manager of the Pet Blood Bank. Yeah, that really exists. It really does exist. And I don't know where she gets her donations. I don't see the mobile feline unit in my neighborhood collecting blood. But we'll find out about that. Now, do you have an animal at the office that gives blood?
We no longer do. We used to when I first got into practice many, many years ago, but we actually have a specialty center now in town that does have a blood bank. And what they often do is that they'll have a drive. So they'll clear certain animals as blood donors. They do the blood testing, and then they get them signed up, and then they just bring them in regularly to donate blood. So now if I need some cat or dog blood, that's generally where we get it from.
Well, I can't wait to learn more from Nicole Humphreys in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. But first, your calls for Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani. Well, hey, Julie, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Reamstown, Pennsylvania. It's it's between Lancaster and Reading.
And you got snow on the ground yet?
No, it's wonderful.
Isn't that strange?
I know, but this is wonderful because I have so much to do outside yet, and and not having to shovel and everything. This is wonderful. Well, I really appreciate that this year.
I had nothing to do with it.
All right, you can claim credit. I'm gullible.
How can we help you? I got the whole team here for you.
Okay, I have a problem with a feral cat, and
okay.
Now, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm also not a novice. I've been catching and taming ferals for like 35 years, and that started before the catch and release programs. Wow. Now, this cat is about 10 years old. She's been inside for about 9.5 of those years. And
okay.
She was extremely feral outside. Now, I only see her at night, or sometimes she'll sit on a windowsill as the sun is coming up. But during the day, she just hides away. And now 3 times, with all the other cats, now sometimes it took a long time, but once they started taming up or showed something that indicated that, it progressed from there. But now 3 times she has appeared to be taming up, but each time, and for no known reason, reverted back to just being totally feral.
Wow. What's her name?
Her name's Flipper.
Flipper.
And now sometimes I don't see her for 2 weeks. Now the thing is, she is safe, and she has wet and dry food and water in all the rooms, and use of a balcony in nice weather. She does use the litter trays, which I'm glad of.
Okay.
But this is no quality of life. And, you know, I had two thoughts, and I'm open to any suggestions. You know, I wondered about sprinkling catnip in some of the rooms, maybe get her drunk. You know, like that. And you were talking about pheromones.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I don't know anything about those. How are they dispensed in a room?
Okay. Well, I'm going to first start at the very beginning because I want to get some of our listeners into step with what you know as someone who works with ferals. There is a difference between a cat that has been tamed to human contact, that's socialized to human contact, and then that's the opposite of what a feral is. So feral cats, even though they're a domesticated animal, they have generally lived without the need for humans, so they really don't socialize to humans. So some feral cats can acclimate and become very normal pet cats. Others cannot, and it can be very difficult to have the same expectations for every cat that's feral because they all just aren't going to settle into that kind of lifestyle. And I do have some clients who have feral cats that have released them outside because the quality of their life is not that what is deemed fair for the animal.
That would be dangerous for her.
Yeah, well, a couple things that I do think of with your situation, and you mentioned that there's other cats in the household, and there could be certainly some interplay that's going on. And the important thing I think we all need to recognize is cats don't vocalize to express their communication with each other. They do nonverbal communication. So there's eye contact and body positions that are used. So you can still have cats that are having a tiff or a territorial conflict and never hear a darn peep out of them. So sometimes, even finding, I hate to say rehoming this cat, but another housing situation, whether it be completely separate of the other kitties or in a home that has no other cats, that might be another opportunity to allow her to try to come to terms with, the humans in the home a bit better.
Okay, the ones that I have one aggressive one downstairs, and that cat never has contact with her. She's upstairs. And the ones that are upstairs, none of them, over all these years, I've been observing and wondering, this and that, and I've never seen anybody appearing to be aggressive to where she might be.
But they don't have to be aggressive. So that's what I'm saying. There doesn't have to be a fight. There doesn't have to be a conflict. It could be as simple as a stare down. It could be a look of the eyes. It could be a swish of the tail and a turn of the body. So that's why that is a possibility, and we can't rule that out. So I just want you to kind of keep that in mind. But if we do have, especially with a multi-cat home, you mentioned pheromones, and pheromones I do like. It's not a magic trick, and I think we have a very complex situation with a feral cat in this situation. So there's going to be limitations, but I do like to try to use pheromones, and for cats, they come in a lot of different formats. I'm a fan of the plugins because I like things that are easy, but they're basically like air fresheners that you plug in, and most of them treat about 500 square foot area. There's also sprays, but I find that a bit tedious because you have to reapply that. And you generally with the sprays you would focus on areas where cats enter. So doorways, areas where there's maybe food or other resources like the litter box. But for kitties, I definitely prefer the diffusers. And, that might help. And then just making sure other environmental enrichment is there that you've got. And for cats, vertical height and lots of hiding spaces are very important for their mental well-being. Okay, good.
But now the plug-ins, what do you ask for would a pet supply store sell those?
Oh, sure, yeah. You can find those pretty readily at most big box, pet stores. As a veterinarian, I do carry those in my hospital as well. I personally use a product that's called Feel Away. There are some other ones out there as well, but it's just the one that...
F-E-L?
F-E-L-I-W-A-Y.
F-E-L-I-W.
And you'll actually find that in the store as Comfort Zone.
Yes, thank you, Hal. Yeah. And, some of these products are actually on back order. So, at this time, you might have some challenges finding that particular brand. But it can certainly help. But, I think you got a lot going on there for that little girl to acclimate. But what you're describing is not at all unusual. And it's hard to know what kind of experiences she had when she was out feral. So some of those kind of early experiences can be hard to overcome if she had something, bad happen to her or something fearful. So give that baby a blow-away kiss, because I know she may not want you to touch her. But good luck with things, and we hope she finds that happy place in your home there.
Thanks for calling today. Toll free 1-866-405-8405 to reach out to any one of the Dream Team. This healthy serving of Animal Radio is brought to you by the grain-free Red Barn Naturals canned food for dogs and cats. Always made in the USA with natural, functional ingredients to support your pet's optimal health. It's available at www.redbarninc.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think less is better. It's what you won't find that sets our natural premium pet food apart. No byproducts, no corn or soy, no fillers. Just the natural ingredients your pets need to live the healthy life they deserve. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Red Barn canned food for cats and dogs is grain and gluten-free.
Last night, Cheryl Loggy made her status. Any moms out there know a good stroller for twins? Help! It got 10 likes and 8 comments. Geico also has a comment, Cheryl. While we don't know which stroller you should go with, we do know that in as little as 15 minutes, you could save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance just by switching to Geico. And with that money, you can buy the swankiest of rides for your tiny duo to cruise around in. Right on down to Potty Training Town. Hashtag twins, hashtag savings.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I wish I could fall asleep. Jennifer had a stressful day, and now her mind is spinning at bedtime. I have a big day tomorrow. It's time for new Unisom Sleep Minis. The tiny capsules are non-habit forming and work fast. They're the little help busy people need to get a good night's sleep and wake recharged. Good night. New Unisom Sleep Minis. A stressful day deserves a restful night. Use as directed. Active ingredient diphenhydramine hydrochloride.
Oh, fresh powder. I'll get the skis.
Ugh, I can't.
Winter nasal congestion. Is it A, cold, B, sinus pressure, C, allergies?
I'm not sure.
For all of the above, the answer is D, Allegra D, a maximum strength decongestant plus a powerful non-drowsy antihistamine for 24 hours of relief. Feel better?
Yep. Feel like racing?
Hey, wait! This winter, the answer is Allegra D. Look for Allegra D at the pharmacy counter. Use as directed.
Hi, this is Elaine Boozler on Animal Radio. Spay and neuter your pets and some of your exes.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
It's Animal Radio, and in just a few minutes, we're going to talk to the blood bank lady. She wants your kitty's blood and your dog's blood. We'll find out how she collects that blood and how she distributes it across the country. And we're going to check the news before that with Lori Brooks. What are you working on?
Well, we've all heard the movie Snakes on a Plane.
Yep.
Recently, there was a video about another animal that escaped a carrier on a plane. It was pretty funny.
Whoops.
Okay. So I'm going to share the details behind the scenes with you on that one.
Okay. Dr. Debbie, you want to take some calls?
Yeah, let's go to it.
Okay, we're going to line one. Hi, Max. How are you doing?
Hi, it's Mac, MAC.
Oh, Mac, how are you doing today?
Wonderful, thank you.
Where are you?
Tampa, Florida.
What's going on with your pets today? What kind of pets do you have?
Well, I've got 2 birds, one cockatiel and one lovebird. And they seem to be loving the wooden play toys they have and the wooden cage that I've got them in. They seem to be chewing that as opposed to their cuddle bone or any other thing to keep their beak sharp. I wonder if this is normal.
Well, yeah. As far as for birds, they will pretty much chew on anything given the opportunity. And I would be a little cautious if they are in a wood cage. It's probably not my first choice because of the durability component, because they are going to chew on that. It's in their immediate environment, and it's given them an outlet, but it may not be the most secure because of that chewing. So I would definitely go with a non-painted galvanized steel and make sure you stick with that, something like that. But the actual process of chewing wood isn't necessarily, detrimental. We just try to direct that in another way. What do you have these guys eating?
Just regular bird field by Hearts.
A bird seed product?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Because for a lot of birds that are fed seed diets, we're actually led to believe by pet stores that that's the right diet for birds. And it's actually very deficient in nutrients. So I like to see trying to get birds over onto a pelleted diet. And have you ever seen those at the pet store?
No, I have not.
Okay. Pelleted diets kind of look like a Tutti Frutti colors. It's basically a processed food that has all of the nutrients that these guys need. But when you put it right next to a dish where they have seed, they're not really interested in it, and birds will always go to the seed first. So that's definitely my preference for birds, is to go to a pelleted diet, and it takes a lot of work to get them switched over.
Okay.
Do they spend much time outside of the cage?
I have them out of the cage about once a week for about an hour, 2 hours at a time.
Okay. Because, the more activity, the more interaction they have, then also that kind of takes away some of that that chewing and destructive tendency. If they're out kind of socializing, vocalizing when you're around, then that helps to keep them mentally stimulated and, not so bored and kind of chewing their surroundings.
Right.
Yeah.
Give
And
that
then
a try.
do you do any kind of any supplements, any vitamins, anything like that?
No. As a matter of fact, someone told me that the reason they're chewing the wood is they're missing vitamins. I went, well, it sounds strange to me, but...
Well, maybe in a roundabout way. I'm not really a huge fan on giving vitamins to birds. I try to correct the diet first. But I think keeping them engaged, entertained, and then maybe making them work for their food. And there's actually a process that we call the foraging technique in birds, and it's basically kind of retraining birds to not eat out of seed cups, but to pick off the bottom of the cage. And we can kind of train them over to eating things like pelleted foods. And it can be, good for them nutritionally, and it's a little bit more enriching for them, so they're not, sitting there getting the food just poured to them. They actually have to work for it.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you for the call, Mac.
Jesus. Hey, Jesus. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing? I have a question of, how dogs, we all have the same kind of organs, a stomach and liver and all that, but I don't know. Dogs and cats, they burp.
Okay, so there's kind of two questions if I got that right. So you want to know if dogs are like us and they have all the same organs, and then you want to know if dogs burp. Is that correct?
Never burp at all, and I'm just curious.
Okay. All righty. Yeah. Well, dogs definitely do burp and they pass wind. And some dogs definitely do it more often than other breeds. And for anyone who might have, say, a boxer or an English bulldog, those guys are really very windy from both ends. And it does play a role with kind of how they are taking in their air. So if they're kind of like that, you're going to see a lot more gas on either end. So definitely, yeah. If your doggy doesn't do much burping, then you're maybe fortunate. But I'd rather have it come up the front end than go out the backside.
Hey, that's for sure. Here. Amen. True dat.
My little ladybug burps.
Ladybug, she has little quaint burps. They're like,
she does.
But you know what? The brachycephalic, the dogs that have kind of smushed in faces, they are just known to be gassy fellas, and ladies too. So that may be a part of the case with your dog. I don't know.
Is it Jeanette? Hi, Jeanette.
Yes.
How's your toy poodle?
She's fine.
What's going on with her? What's her name?
Sophie.
How's Sophie today?
Yes. Well, I just got home and she's been not caged, but put in the kitchen while I was gone for a couple of hours. But she's happy to see me.
Good.
But and she's a good little dog. She's very loving, very affectionate. But we have a couple little problems with her. One of them, she rolls the ball around the house all the time. And when she gets it in a place where it's hard for her to get out, she gets very frustrated and starts pulling on the carpet. and pulling
She,
up little
did you say she rolls all over the house?
Rolls a ball around
She
the house.
rolls the ball.
Oh, rolls
she
the
pushes it
ball.
around the house with her nose.
Okay, all right. I was envisioning her rolling.
For an hour, she'll go for an hour with that thing all over the place.
Okay.
And that's her fun time, I guess. But when she gets it stuck in a place that we have to tell her to back it up, so if she has trouble backing it up, she'll grab a piece of the rug and pull on it. So
Oh,
I
dear.
wonder if there's
Okay.
any way I can break her from that.
Well, this behavior is only occurring when she's playing her ball regimen?
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess the simplest thing that I'm going to say is that we need to control that ball playing activity, because especially if it's something she does almost to an obsessive level, there's a bit of anxiety. It's fun, but it can be a bit of an anxiety driving experience, so that she may not do her normal things. Her behaviors may be inappropriate at that time, and digging or tearing up the carpet is just a factor of her anxiety with wanting to get to that ball. So either we control the timing and the area that she has while she's playing ball, or we deal with some chewed up carpet and torn up carpet, because there's not going to be an easy way as long as we allow her to play her game on her time without direct supervision. There's other ways we can make this game maybe a little bit more of an outlet for her. So if we can take the ball outside, throw it, have her, does she do retrieving activities, or is it just where she pushes it?
She pushes it, and I play soccer with her.
Because if we can have a little bit more control over that playtime, where she can find the ball, retrieve it, or you can play back and forth with her, that is going to decrease some of her anxiety if it gets out of her reach, and then she's forced to start to do some of these behaviors that are a little bit more on the obsessive line. So that's probably going to be the easiest thing. The other thing that I would make sure we do is that we give her some other physical outlet besides the ball, because it really can become truly a problem fun toy.
This is an Animal Radio News Update, brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy, with prescription medications and over-the-counter products like Advantix flea and tick medication delivered right to your door. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. If you're a world traveler, I got to tell you, never go to Thailand and say something unkind about the king's dogs there, because there's some really strict new laws in Thailand now, and a factory worker now, we hear, could go to jail for 37 years for making some bad remarks about the king's dog. Turns out that the man was charged with making a sarcastic post about the dog. He also faces separate charges, too, of sedition and insulting the king. So what did this guy say that was so bad? Well, we don't really know, because the man's lawyer says the Thai military will not divulge what the remark was. What we do know is that the royal dog in question in Thailand is Copper, who is widely loved in that country. The 88-year-old ailing king rescued Copper from an alley back in 2002, and then he wrote a best-selling book about her. For owners of dogs and cats stricken with cancer, one of the leading causes of death among companion animals over the age of 6, those expensive treatments only add to the emotional difficulties. Just to figure out what's wrong with an animal, that initial cancer diagnosis can cost between $1,000 and $2,000. A standard course of chemotherapy, they found, costs between $3,000 and $5,000. Radiation treatments run between $6,000 and $10,000. And of course, for some pet parents, money is no object. More than 70 owners of dogs stricken with lymphoma in the last few years were found to have spent between $16,000 and $25,000 on bone marrow transplants for their dogs, even though the cure rate is only about 33%. And those weren't just wealthy people. They say some had to use their life savings and even refinance their houses to pay for those treatments for their pets. A mischievous cat escaped its carrier on board a Delta Airlines flight last week, and to the horror of a cat-fearing flight attendant, the cat roamed free for a while throughout the cabin. Of course, someone caught the incident on video. You knew that would happen, and it had some really comical moments. For example, the tortoiseshell cat approaches the flight attendant, and she is heard telling the animal, "Sit right there, don't move." Of course, the cat does not obey her orders. The poor cat, its owner fell asleep with headphones on, and somehow it managed to get out of the carrier. I'm Lori Brooks. Get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy. With everyday low prices on products like Quellen and Rimadyl delivered right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Supplies have a Vet VIPPS accredited online pharmacy covering all your pet's needs, from heartworm medications and anti-inflammatories like Rimadyl to non-prescription items like Canine Advantix Flea and Tick Preventive. Doctors Foster and Smith has your pet covered. We'll even contact your vet for you, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Low prices every day with free shipping on orders over $49. Shop online at fosterandsmith.com because your pet's health and happiness come first.
Oh, fresh powder. I'll get the skis.
Ugh, I can't.
Winter nasal congestion. Is it A, cold, B, sinus pressure, C, allergies?
I'm not sure.
For all of the above, the answer is D, Allegra D, a maximum strength decongestant plus a powerful non-drowsy antihistamine for 24 hours of relief. Feel better?
Yep. Feel like racing?
Hey, wait! This winter, the answer is Allegra D. Look for Allegra D at the pharmacy counter. Use as directed.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio. About 3 weeks ago, our studio cat, Boog, the studio cat, was in sudden need of a transfusion. Craziest thing, doctor said, hey,
blood transfusion.
Blood transfusion. I don't know what other kinds there are.
I don't know.
But
let's just make sure it's not brain
bone
transfusion.
marrow transfusion.
Is there?
Kinds, yeah.
Oh.
Fecal transfusion.
Well, we heard about
Transplant.
that. Yeah, we heard about that crazy thing. But we just, I think it's the first time I thought that I would ever be involved with such a thing, and we had to find a clinic that would do the transfusion and that had the right blood type.
Yeah, had the blood.
Because apparently there is blood types.
I don't know.
Cannot use
There
human
is.
blood. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many different blood types are there, Doc?
In cats, about 3.
And do they?
Dogs,
they
8.
And you can't share cat or dog or human blood.
No. It has to be cat blood. The cat getting cat blood, dog getting dog blood. So yeah. And preferably you type and cross match and do all that kind of stuff as well. So.
I can't even imagine how they get the blood, because for humans you have the blood mobiles. You go give a little blood, they give you a lollipop afterwards or some apple juice,
some orange juice, or something. Yeah.
But
we have ways of getting our blood.
I bet you do. We have on the phone Nicole Humphreys. She is the manager of the Pet Blood Bank. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. Where are you located?
We're located outside of Austin, Texas, in a town called Cherokee.
And you get blood for all across the country, or just in your location?
Oh, no, we give blood all across the country. Our blood bank, the way that we operate is that we do have some donors that we work with through our organizations, rescue organizations. We also do have some of our own donors at our ranch here in Cherokee. And basically, it's kind of done the way that you just mentioned, that we do have a truck, what we call our little blood mobile, and we do actually do some blood transfusions and blood donations that way. And, of course, all the dogs, they get treats afterwards. And we also have our own operations here at our kennel and at our ranch where we can sterilely obtain the blood from our donors, and then everything gets shipped out overnight.
How long have you been around?
We've been around for about 12 years.
Wow.
More commonly, people have been hearing about us for about 8 years or so, but we've been around for a little while.
And is this the way that veterinarians and clinics, emergency clinics, have gotten their blood most of the time, or are there other ways?
Well, we'd like to say that this is the most optimum way of doing it because we do have the capabilities of testing for bloodborne pathogens to make sure that the blood is completely free of disease. But there are other ways that people do blood transfusions. Most emergency facilities actually will get it from a blood bank, but there are some smaller veterinary hospitals that may have a blood donor, such as an employee pet, that they may actually draw of in an emergency situation.
What is the shelf life and how is it shipped? Is it required to be on ice when it's shipped, or?
There's different ways of shipping. Of course, any type of plasma product, fresh frozen plasma, that is obtained from the blood will have to be shipped frozen, so that will have to be shipped on ice. However, packed red blood cells or whole blood, which is the erythrocyte of the blood, will actually be shipped. It will be cold, so there will be ice packs in there. And depending upon what type of product, such as packed red blood cells, which is just see erythrocyte, no plasma involved, that would have a shelf life of about 42 days.
So are you looking for donors?
We do. We actually do hold some, I guess you could say, some blood drives. And we do have specific requirements that we need. So basically people would have to have an animal that is 35 pounds or more, spayed or neutered. They have to have a great temperament, and they have to be able to sit still.
Well, 35 pounds or more, how would you do cats?
I'll say that most cats do have to be sedated or anesthetized completely
Sure.
for this. So this isn't quite the same thing.
Well, how much can a cat or a dog give? It must take a lot of dogs to do a transfusion for a dog.
Well, the way that it's done is that you have a half unit, which is usually 125 ml, or a whole unit, which is 250 ml. And in order for it to be considered one full bag of blood, it must weigh 330 grams. So we do have a scale, and we do weigh it out to make sure that it's all done properly. So we do it by a gram weight. That calculation is done, of course, by how much the dog weighs and what we're going to donate for.
And then do you sell it? And how much does blood sell for?
We do actually sell it to organizations. We do sell directly to the veterinary consumer. And then our cheapest bag, I guess you could say, would be about $91, and that's for a half size. And our full size is $156. So you are looking at something, depending upon how many bags you would need. It could be, less or more.
All very intriguing. I've never knew about this. I guess we can learn more over at the website caninebloodbank.com. And that's canine,
That's
like
correct.
the letter K and the number 9.
That's right.
Okay, and we'll put links to that and everything you've heard on today's show over at animalradio.com. Nicole, thanks so much for hanging with us today.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care of yourself. This portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by Stella and Chewy's. Pets thrive when they're fed the same food they'd get in the wild. And those meal mixers, they're an easy, convenient way to add raw, nutrient-rich meat, wholesome fruits, vegetables, probiotics, and antioxidants to your dog's diet. Learn more over at StellaandChewy's.com. And thanks, guys, so much for underwriting Animal Radio.
Dogs or cats, horse or emu, animals are people too. Jerry Dunlap spent more than a year fixing up his 1910 Dream sailboat, but it sank straight to the bottom of the Newport Harbor when about 15 gigantic sea lions tried to take it out for a spin. Newport, California residents are complaining of renegade sea lions doing all types of damage since they started showing up in May. Besides sinking sailboats, they bark all night long and even tipped over a mother and her child in a kayak. City officials are considering making it illegal to feed the sea lions, hoping they'll go back to where they came from. As for Jerry and his sunken sailboat, the 63-year-old says he's not in the mood to start restoring it now. He just paid $3,500 to get it dragged up from the bottom of Newport Harbor. I'm Britt Savage for Animal Radio. Animals are people too. Animal Radio.
Hello, everyone. It's Robert Semro, your Pet World Insider, here with this week's Animal Radio list, Hot Trends We'll See in the Pet World in 2016. That's right, it's 2016, and that means it's time for some predictions about what the hot trends for the pet world will be this year. Number 1. The human-animal bond and relationship will become more than something pet parents know about. In fact, science and research continues to show that having a pet improves people's lives in many different ways, from health to companionship to motivation and more. The human-animal bond relationship will be a hot topic in 2016 because science and organizations like the Human-Animal Bond Research Initiative continue to prove what pet parents have always known: pets make life better. Number 2. Technology knows no bounds and has yet to be cone-of-shamed. That's right, everywhere you look these days, technology is increasingly a part of the pet world. 2016 will be no different as we continue to see an expansion of technology in almost every area of the pet world. From feeders to trackers to trainers and toys, technology will further invigorate, excite, and engage the pet world. In a world that is now creating robotic animals to be as pet-like as possible, technology has certainly entrenched itself and is now on the verge of overtaking the pet world itself. So go ahead and cone-of-shame your robotic pet this year. Number 3. Human-grade organic grain-free balanced superfoods will become the battle cry for pet food companies. Okay, maybe not all of those adjectives or commonly thrown about superlatives will be stamped across every pet food label we see, but you can be sure that in the battle to claim to be the best and the healthiest, there will certainly be some overused and underwhelming terms used to describe pet foods. We'll also see a resurgence of claims that this way is better than that way, and that way should be the only way unless there was another way. Let me simplify this for you. Do the best that you can do and that you can sustain, and learn what your pet responds well to. Number 4, supplements, vitamins, and orthopedic mattresses. That's right, in the human world, we find ourselves using vitamins and supplements and other specialties to live fuller, longer, happier, and healthier lives. This trend will continue to explode this year as more and more of us turn to the same things benefiting our own health to benefit the health of our pets. It makes sense that we're turning to nature to provide us a healthy boost for everyone in our family. My last prediction is the one I'm most certain will occur. Number 5, Animal Radio will continue to bring pet lovers around the world the animal news, information, entertainment, and enjoyment that has made them beloved by the animal world for more than 15 years. If you've got a prediction for the animal world for 2016, we'd love to hear it. Post them to our Animal Radio Facebook page, and let's see which predictions come true in 2016.
Hey everybody, this is Brett Michaels, and I just want to say, you, right now, want to take, wait, give me the line again, my brain skipped.
Brett Michaels.
I just had one of my brain hemorrhage brain farts.
Oh,
Go
don't
ahead,
do that,
say
don't do
one
that.
more time.
I don't want to be responsible for that.
Trust me, it's me. Go ahead.
Animal Radio, Brett Michaels and Animal Radio.
You got it. I knew the Animal Radio, like, okay, here we go. Hey, this is Brett Michaels. You're listening to Animal Radio, and take care of your pets. They will rock your world.
Oh, what did he say? He said, we're all across the USA, the most listened to pet show today. Animal Radio, we're everywhere you go. Animal Radio. Animal Radio.
It's Animal Radio, toll free 1-866-405-8405 to reach out to the Dream Team. And of course, don't forget you can ask your questions directly from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. If you haven't downloaded it, what are you waiting for? Do it now. We're going to head back to the phones in just a second. Lori, you had a question for Joey, and I didn't want to make you have to call in. What's up with Roro?
Well, I want to know, Joey, I was thinking about this as I was just brushing Roro, and he's losing hair like it's May. Is that because he has new, like, winter hair getting ready to come in?
It's possible. You know, I mean, it could be so many. It could be so many things. Sometimes, you know, pets just shed at certain times of the year when they're ready. It could be that there's a dietary change, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you changed your pet's food. It just means that they're not getting the nutrition out of their food that they were. Because
we did change his food, so maybe that's
okay.
it.
Well, you know what? That could be a really, really big sign, and that doesn't mean it's bad. That might, you know, that might mean that it's actually good, and maybe that coat had to come out. So if it's not balding, and it's just coming out, and it looks shiny and it looks healthy, I would keep on the food.
1-866-405-8405. Hi, Angel.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Well, I have a little 15-and-a-half-year-old. She's about 5 pounds, and she's an odd mix. She looks like a Shih Tzu. She's a Shih Tzu, Chihuahua, and Pekingese. And I would like to know what the symptoms are for hip dysplasia. Is there a change in stance? Is there a change in her gait? She doesn't seem to indicate any pain, but she seems to be much less steady on her feet. But she also rides in a truck a lot.
Okay. And so when you say she's a little bit unsteady on her feet, do her feet give out on her, or is she just slow getting up?
She just, when she's just kind of standing there, not in the truck, like when we take her out to walk her and everything, sometimes she just kind of wobbles like maybe she doesn't have her land feet yet. You know, okay. I'm not sure if it's because of the truck or if it's because of but it's something that's kind of appeared within the last year.
Okay, well, and she's definitely old enough that we would want to talk about, and I probably gear more towards what we'd call osteoarthritis than just hip dysplasia, because hip dysplasia is only one part of the body that can have problems. And in dogs, they can have elbow dysplasia, they can have spinal arthritis, so you can really have pain and arthritic changes kind of anywhere in the body, and that can create problems in mobility and getting around. And for an old gal like that, I would say if we're worried about the back end, we sometimes do see some distinctive problems in the back end. Where we might have a crossing over of the back feet, where they do seem kind of uncoordinated and almost drunk. And we can see problems where getting up from a seated or a lying position is difficult, and you just kind of see it almost in the extra effort that, the push to get up. That can be a sign that there's pain and or muscle weakness. And then finally, if we're seeing continence problems in the back end, if we're having urine accidents, we're having pooping accidents, those can be signs that we might be having some problems with the hindquarters. But in general, when we look anywhere on a dog's body, arthritis can affect how easily they get up. So really, you're looking for that exaggerated effort. You're looking for a limp. And you're looking for a pet who might have maybe quivering or tremors with their muscles, because if the joints aren't working really well and they're not moving in the full, nice, long strides that they should, the muscles can atrophy and they can weaken, and that will translate to maybe a trembling or shaking leg. So those are some of the things that I would definitely keep an eye out for.
Okay. I think you've hit it kind of on the nail. The more appropriate description would be the muscle weakness, I think, is what it is an indicator. Does that will that encourage hip dysplasia, or is that maybe just because she's gotten older and also she lives on a truck, without as much exercise as other dogs?
Sure. And, I can't say I don't do a lot of the truck driving, but I can imagine where having your sea legs, might be a little bit disorienting when she first gets to land. But as far as, for other things, as far as there definitely can be medical problems, metabolic problems that cause weakness, problems like thyroid disorders, other types of hormone disorders that can cause a generalized muscle weakness. The other thing would be, when we talk about the spine, some breeds of dogs can have particular problems with disc problems. That's hard to say, disc problems. But that can actually cause back pain and can even lead to signs of paralysis, where their feet kind of get either where they drag them, or they may not really sense where they're at in space, and they just kind of trip over them, or they cross their feet over. So if we're seeing something like that, then I would say we definitely want to get some x-rays, because we want to make sure we're heading down the right road, whether it's a orthopedic problem and maybe we need some pain medicine and some joint remedies, or if it's something more of a neurologic problem, and then we're going to have a totally different type approach, where we maybe deal with pain medicine, but we might need to gear something towards inflammation and gearing towards that nerve function. So that might be I know she's an older gal, but that might be a good investment in just to kind of get the right pathway and make sure we're heading down the right road there.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. Remember, you can get your Animal Radio fix all week long over at animalradio.com and download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. It's a free download, and it has all kinds of great stuff on it. Plus, you can get your fix, listen to past shows and current shows, and ask your questions right from the app. Gotta love that. If you have a Yorkshire Terrier, a Shih Tzu, a Pug, or a Mini Schnauzer, remember Dr. Debbie's books, How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend. They're Kindle books. They're over at Amazon.com. And if you're in the Las Vegas area, visit her at the Lone Mountain Animal Hospital.
You very well, Hal.
I used to call it clinic all the time. That's why they're so amazed at this. Have yourself a great week. We'll see you next week for more Animal Radio right here on this fine station.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
This is Animal Radio Network.